We will next go to Senator Husted for 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thanks to the witnesses for joining us today. Complicated issue. It seems, in listening to you and from the work that I've done in my life, it seems like we got a situation where our freedom is being used against us. We allow Chinese students to study in our universities many times, not many times, but sometimes, to our detriment, stealing intellectual property, our ideas, outright espionage. Anytime a small business sells into the Chinese market, I don't know how many times I've talked to a small business, said, look, I was selling it. Next thing I know, they're selling it. They stole my IP. I have no recourse in their courts. We have recourse they have recourse, though, in our courts. We treat them, we give their businesses the same protections we give our businesses, but yet that's not reciprocated. Not to mention, some of their advances clearly have also come from stealing technologies in other nations, from other innovations that go there. And I know in talking to small businesses since the tariff issue has come up, that they say, well, a lot of times they say, well, I don't necessarily like them. However, how in the world, it's about time somebody stands up and protects me from what's going on when I try to sell into China and what they sell into our country and other countries. I'll ask each of you to comment on that. What recommendations would you make to the Trump administration as they're looking at the issue of trade with China, and how can we use our trade relationship or the bilateral conversations that are happening to address some of the issues you've discussed today? Dr. Hannes, you can start with you and go down the line.
Again, my apologies. I'm not good at solutions, but there is one point that needs to be brought up that is germane, I think, to your question, and we didn't touch on it enough before. This is not solely a U.S. problem. You know, China does not discriminate among the countries that it exploits. Our book on Chinese industrial espionage was translated into 2 languages. Guess which 2? Japanese and Korean, because they're suffering the same problems we are. So one of the things we can do is ally ourselves with our allies who are suffering from the same depredations and come up with a common front against the problem. That would be my major recommendation.
Okay, thank you.
One of the challenges that we have in our innovation system is that we create a research, generating ID, a fantastic entrepreneurial culture, but the scale-up part of our innovation system, infrastructure has eroded over a number of years. We need to rebuild that so that we are the ones who are first and foremost absorbing the IP that's coming out of our research universities faster than anybody else in the world. And
what do you think the barriers are to that? Because we have a lot of capital in this country. What is the barrier? Why aren't we scaling it up?
Well, it's a sort of more time I can come back and brief you in detail. But we have basically hollowed out our manufacturing sector. So as a result, our ecosystem is incomplete. The Chinese have large state-owned enterprises. They have deep pockets. They're able to take ideas and scale them up. And we don't have, we are kind of weak in that area. So what we need to do is actually rebuild our innovation system so that it's the most competitive in the world. Go back to when it was.
It's very capital intensive.
It's very capital intensive. It requires a lot of coordination across. It requires a strong, it's a multifaceted innovation system. It has, worker training aspects to it. It has, capital markets aspect to it. It has research and development aspects to it. All of these parts of the innovation system have to all work together independently as well as connect with each other. In fact, one of the advantages of the SBIR program is actually it takes ideas that may be formed at a university lab, but the venture capitalist doesn't know whether it's a great idea. And so by creating a two-phase validation of the commercial potential and the technological potential of the technology, it basically flags to venture capitalists, our deep capital markets, that this is an idea that you need to invest in. That helps to bring the technology pathway across.
Well, our financial system's like sure bets, not speculative.
Well, the financial system, it's a market, and like any market, it works well when there's more information, and this is what SBIR does.
Give chance for our last guest.
I'll be short. On the trade front, we need to stop assuming that China is going to play by the rules or will ever compromise. And we should levy significantly higher tariffs on China. We should encourage our allies and partners to do the same, but with a coherent message that says that the international free trade system works. We should all be part of it, but not let China abuse it. And then we should accept that a message to the American people that all this will come at a cost in the short term, but that cost is far more palatable than the long-term cost of not defending against China's manipulation.
So thank you. And Madam Chair, the three things, that I heard from the answer: work with our partners, Japan, Korea, others who are experiencing the same problem, help Made in America work by reestablishing our manufacturing base in this country, and use tariffs against China as a tool to help get this accomplished. Thank you very much.
During a Senate Small Business Committee hearing in July, Senator John Husted, ROH, raised concerns that China has been using America's openness and freedoms against it. He argued that while the U.S. allows Chinese students to study at its universities, some engage in espionage and intellectual property theft that damages American innovation. He also pointed out that many small businesses have experienced their products being copied and resold in China, with no legal recourse in Chinese courts. At the same time, Chinese companies benefit from the protections of the American legal system, creating what he described as an unbalanced situation. Experts testifying before the committee agreed that the problem goes well beyond the United States. They noted that countries such as Japan and South Korea have also suffered from similar industrial espionage and unfair trade practices. One suggestion was for the U.S. to strengthen alliances with these nations and form a coordinated response to Chinese exploitation. Witnesses also highlighted weaknesses within America's own innovation system. While the U.S. still leads in research and entrepreneurial creativity, the country has lost much of its manufacturing base, making it harder to scale up new technologies at home. By contrast, China's state-owned enterprises have the resources and infrastructure to quickly take ideas and bring them to market. Rebuilding America's manufacturing capacity, along with stronger links between research, capital markets, and workforce training, was emphasized as a critical step. The Small Business Innovation Research (SBIR) program was cited as one example of how the U.S. can bridge the gap between academic research and commercial investment. By validating both the technological and market potential of new ideas, the program helps attract venture capital and encourages investment in emerging technologies. Another witness called for a harder line on trade, warning that China cannot be expected to follow the rules of international free trade. They recommended higher tariffs and closer coordination with allies, while making clear to the American public that such measures could carry short-term costs. Still, they argued, those costs are preferable to the long-term consequences of failing to push back against China's manipulation of global markets. Senator Husted concluded by summarizing the main points. The U.S. must work closely with allies who face the same challenges, rebuild its own manufacturing strength to support American innovation, and be willing to use tariffs as a tool in dealing with China.